Okay, hello everyone. Let me know if you can't hear me. Okay, and this is Vincent, co-founder and CEO of Future Hub. Very glad to join this event, and much appreciation from Future Hub to the Passage and Jianlong to organize such a great online event. And also very happy to be the co-host of this fascinating event, talking about Africa, and also co-host the Middle East and African session. So from my keynote speech, I would go through several topics about African tech ecosystem, sectors, landscapes, and opportunities, and also, of course, COVID-19 impact, and finally, a little bit more about Future Hub. So the first part is Africa tech ecosystem. Just give a little bit of a glance. So the African continent is very big continent. It's 3 times big than China, and also with a huge population of 1.3 billion. And it is evaluated to grow to 2 billion in 2050, which is very huge, promising opportunities. And in terms of population age, the median age is 18.6 years old, which is very, very young. And more than 65% of the population is under 35 years old. So it is huge potential for the new generation, which is more tech savvy than their parents. And also in terms of internet access and smartphone penetration, so there's almost 62% of
Hey, Vincent,
3G.
Sorry to interrupt. Maybe you could share your slide with us. Share your screen with us.
Okay. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let me continue. So in terms of internet access, there are 62% of 4G and 3G internet penetration across the continent. And also it is predicted to be more than 84% in the year of 2025. So which is a very huge space to grow. And also in terms of VC markets, there are several key important markets on the continent, which are Nigeria, Kenya, and Egypt, and also South Africa, following by Tanzania, Uganda, Ghana, and the likes. So this really fascinating major investment markets, and also Future Hub is mainly focusing on East Africa and West Africa. And in terms of total funding, we will see a sharp increase a couple of years. So last year, 2019, we have $2 billion total fundings, which is almost double last year. And most of funding goes to FinTech, of course, the hottest sector, and also off-grid tech, which is clean tech, power, and also B2B service, health tech, eCommerce, and a couple of others. And in terms of status quo of the companies, startups, I would say for the time being, most of the startups are in their seed stage and pre-Series A, Series A stage. But we also see a kind of strong growth into a later stage. There are almost 13 companies on the continent just raised over $40 million last year. And which is more fascinating, there are 5 company exits happening on the continent last year, which is Jumia IPO, Transsion IPO, Faori, and also couple others purchased by other company. So which is really, really fascinating. So to sum up, what is happening on the African continent is that the ecosystem is kind of young, but still it is constantly evolving and grow very fast. So that is the tech ecosystem. So the second part is let me walk you through about several important sectors in the continent. First of all, fintech, of course. So in the fintech sector, there's a lot of things happening in the continent. So I would say there's very huge space for the fintech adoption on the continent. Starting with payments, the African continent has the most mobile money user around globe. So there are more than 46% global mobile money users are from Africa, and also 70% transactions from Africa. So there's very huge adoption, but still it is just the beginning. Apart from the major cities in the African countries like Lagos, like Kenya, Kampala, Nairobi, there's also very huge untapped market in tier 2 cities and in other areas of the countries. So in terms of location, we really see East Africa, especially Kenya, is really leading the game. So we see M-Pesa as mobile wallet service, and M-Pesa really have a very huge penetration, more than 90% penetration in Kenya. And also we see MTN, Airtel, their mobile money is also leading in the countries of Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania. And things a little bit different from East Africa in the West. In Nigeria, for example, the mobile money is quite, especially from telcos, is a little bit slow, and the banks and startups are really leading the game. So we see PalmPay, OPay is really doing a great job in West Africa, and also several companies doing the infrastructure, payment technology is really growing strong, like InterSwitch, Flatwave, Paystack. I believe you all know the names. And apart from the technology part, which is also very important in payments, is the agent network, because there's fewer ATM branches, bank branches in African continent, and the agent network is really playing the role. So in this field, Paga, Kudi, a couple of others is really helping to build the agent network for the mobile money operators. So that is payment. And the second part is lending. And because of most major markets, people, users, the lack of credit history, so it's kind of difficult for them to get a proper loan from the banks and proper financing institutions. So there's huge space for mobile lending, online lending, and also consumption loan, working capital loan for small business. So in this field, we have a Carbon, which is a very great and very leading financial platform in Nigeria. And the co-founder, Chijioke, will also share his thoughts in the following panel about his experience in the fintech field. And the third part is remittance. So the cross-border remittance, the P2P transfer is also with very huge space in the African continent. So we see companies is doing compliance transfer, building up the whole chain, really filling the gap, like WapiPay, which is a Kenya company, and the CEO of WapiPay, Eddie, will also share his thought about this industry later in the panel. And we also see some disruptive way, like cryptocurrency in this business. And this are three major scene, I would say. But apart from this, we also see a lot of new sectors sprouting, like wealth tech, investment tech, and also insure tech, which is relatively young and small, but given the crisis, given the COVID-19, the new things just happening, and it's really growing. So that is FinTech part. And next is a digital content. So this sector is really with huge potential. So because African content needs really hyperlocal content, and the player in this field is it includes content platforms, local media, MCN, mobile gaming, etc. And in the content platforms, we see music platform very locally, and we also see short video platform, novel, and news aggregator, and lots more players. So Boomplay is really doing good in this field, and they just have like 80 million users in the continent, and they're also growing very fast. And the local media part, you know, African citizens and users really need hyperlocal media, which is a kind of scarce in the continent. And there's VMedia, which is also a startup, a content startup, media startup, doing several verticals media in Kenya, including digital gadgets, lifestyle, technology, and so on. So later, Rish, the CEO of VMedia, is also we also share his thought on the panel, on the following panel. And in terms of monetization, there are several ways of monetization, like advertising, like subscription, but one of them is through MCN. And we see from last year, several new companies, new startups spring out doing the MCN business. Trend up from Nigeria, and also Trendster from Egypt, and also a couple of others. It's really testing and really validating the business. And last but not least, mobile gaming. I would say mobile gaming is not yet a fully developed industry in the continent, but there's also pioneers, there's also new entrepreneurs who is trying to build this kind of industry. So we see Queenie Games from Ethiopia, who is doing really localized content, localized culture game for their users. And we also see Carry First, which is the first, arguably the first game developer and publisher who is developing and distributing good quality games across different parts of the continent. And the CEO of Carry First will also share how they do it in the later panels. The next sector is e-commerce, which is gaining a lot of traction and a lot of attention currently. So e-commerce is a sector that is long been, I would say, long been overlooked in the continent. Nonetheless, we have a lot of players, horizontal platforms, and marketplaces classifies in the continent for a long time. For example, Jumia, as everyone knows, Konga is sold to other companies. And also we have international players like Kilimo, Kiku, who is really utilizing and leveraging the international supply chain. And the CEOs and co-founders of these two companies will also share in the later panel. And we also have Sky Garden, Kasha. It's really depending on the local supply chain and the local offline stores and local agent to produce and sell goods from the local market, which is also very admirable. And apart from the proper horizontal platform and e-commerce platform, we need to also look at other opportunities in the supply chain, B2B commerce, and also delivery and logistics. There are also a couple of companies doing Series A in this field, which is also filling the gaps of the infrastructure of e-commerce. Yeah. So that is e-commerce. And we also have a couple of other sectors which are very important to the continent. For example, clean tech, off-grid solar panel, and also disrupt ways of delivering electricity. This is also one of the biggest industry and tech industry in the continent. And of course, agri-tech, improving the efficiency and also cut the cost for the farmers to deliver goods. And the health tech and ed tech, these two sectors are really growing rapidly during the pandemic, and receive a lot of funding, especially testing and telemedicine, and also ed tech, the online remote ed tech education. So the news and allies are really go fully online. So these two sectors are also worth to attention. And that's all for the sectors. And the following one is about, of course, the COVID-19 impact on the continent. So so far, there are like 500,000 confirmed cases across the whole African continent. And from the picture from WHO, it seems that the continent, the color is a little bit lighter than other more serious, more severe region. But still, maybe because the young population, and maybe it's because the under testing issue. But nonetheless, we will see predictions about the macroeconomics. So from IMF, there will be like 1% to 5% contract GDP in 2020, and also we'll see several other issues like currency issue, like oil price issue related to the pandemic happening in Nigeria. And that macro economy for sure will impact the VC funding and investment in the tech ecosystem. So there's one prediction that the funding size of this year will drop by 40% than last year. Although the first half seems okay, the second half might be difficult. And some good news from COVID-19. During the pandemic, some sectors are really excited. It's really accelerated by the pandemic, like FinTech. So we see more demands of mobile money, online transfer, and also cash in, cash out from the offline agent banking. So that is gonna really take off. And also we see people really need to deal with the currency issue, and lots of people just to find new ways of investing through the wealth tech products. And the second is the online content. Of course, during the lockdown, a lot of people cannot move, and the social media is really active. And one of our portfolio company who is doing social networks is really seeing a 30% growth of their active user time. And also gaming, our portfolio company is really having good time, really having a bittersweet time to develop games for people and for the increasing demand. And also e-learning. There's a famous ed tech company in Nigeria who is spiking like 300% user growth. And for sure, e-commerce, we will see a huge demand increase in e-commerce, whether it is horizontal platform or vertical platforms. And there's also a lot of demanding from grocery and food because of the lockdown. And also new services are being rolled out from Paystack, from Software, who is targeting the online merchants to receive payment, which is also very a very good sign of this industry. Yeah. And finally, I would like to talk about Future Hub. So for the Future Hub, we are kind of a tech incubator and also investment company who is really focusing on the African continent. So we provide capital from seed, pre-seed, and also pre-series A area. And we also provide mentorship, especially from China, from our know-how. So because we share the similar context in the developing countries, so we have the know-how of how to build a product for lower tier cities, and we also have the know-how of how to utilize tech servers under great constraints, and also growth with lower cost, and how to deal with investors, how to make them understand what is happening in Africa. So that is mentorship. And we also have the resources to back up our portfolio companies, like online traffic from Transsion, our strategic investors, and also offline stores, regional expansion, which is very useful for company that entering their growth stage. And also we try to build solid connections for the portfolio companies to our investor network in China, and also business partner network in China. So that is what we are trying to do. And especially during the pandemic and also post COVID-19, this kind of job is really needed to really make the portfolio companies and also young staffs to survive and grow through the pandemic. Yeah. So I will leave more time to later speakers covering Middle East and also later panels. Yeah. So turn over to Laura.